We booked 1,122 sales calls last year for Adstra alone, and another 10,000 plus for our clients. Together, our team has been responsible for generating well over 150,000 leads. And that's why I can speak on the following topic, which is booking calls isn't hard. It's just misunderstood. I want to walk you through the 5 or so rules of thumb that I've learned and picked up along the way so that you can use it in your marketing and then so that you can book more calls. This will help you figure out where your marketing and advertising is missing the mark so that your 2026 looks a little bit different and a little bit better than it did in the previous years. So the first one is that there is no clear ICP or message. People typically come to Adstra and they say, well, we can help everybody who has a pulse and a credit card. And if that's you, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? So there's a big problem with that, because if you can't understand who you're talking to and you don't have a clear ICP fit, then what are you doing? And so all your messaging that you're doing, whether it's cold email, whether it's advertising, whether it's content, what have you, is completely falling flat because your problems and desires and obstacles that are associated with the person actually can pay you the money, it's not being said. The best way to kind of go about this is there's a 20% of your CRM that makes up 80% of your revenue if you've been in business for some time. Because if you're under 50 million, it really doesn't make sense for you to venture out into different ICPs. One ICP, 1 to 3 products. It's very rare that you're going to have such a small, tight ICP that you're not going to be able to make over $50 million with that ICP. And so if you're below $50 million, it's likely because you have no idea who your ICP is and you think you could just service everybody. And so what that does to your messaging and to your marketing and advertising efforts is it makes it diluted, it makes it irrelevant, it makes it inspecific. And you need pain for people to take the next step. And for pain to exist, it only exists in the specific. Meaning, if you're vague with the pain, then there's no way that you can possibly ever be efficient with your advertising dollar, with your cold email, or what have you. If you even want to grab our Sherlock Holmes, which kind of rolls through how to do the ICP and how to build out the customer profile and how to build out, the dreams, the pains, the obstacles, and kind of go over to, the buyer persona so you know what to say and how to say it and where to kind of locate your advertising and marketing. You can get the AI growth funnel for $27 below, and there's an upsell on that next page for $97. It's pretty cool. There's a training associated with it. It's a pretty long PDF, but that is what we use for our clients to be able to understand, okay, who is the ICP? What is the true fit for the business? And how are we actually going to relate the message to that market so that we get message market match so that it works, right? If you pull up your website and it's not specific to a person or an industry, then you should probably go change that. And if your cold emails, the pains, the dreams, the obstacles are mostly guessing, how could you ever expect your marketing and advertising to actually work? Next one, I see people just relying on their website to book calls. And that is a big no-no. So your website typically has some sort of headline, maybe a subhead, a little button, okay, maybe a little video if you're good, or an image, and you have another button over here. So here's the reality of websites. 70% or less of people will not scroll below the above the fold. Above the fold is like the first thing you see without scrolling. And the terrible truth is that people's headlines are terrible, right? There's no benefit. It doesn't make any sense. I have no idea who's it for. It's very ambiguous. People think that they're like, $1 billion, $5 billion companies that can just put something that is super whimsical and not in specific and not meaningful. But in fact, you need to have a benefit-oriented headline. It's just typically not the case. But there's all these other links, right? And then when you scroll down, you have like, check out our PR here and check out this random kind of video here. And then you have what's called these click-aways, okay? But instead, if you run traffic or just in general, you want to have what's called a funnel, which is there's only one thing to do, right? So it's that button. There's only one thing to do. Download something, opt in, something. And the problem with these websites that people have is the button is a big ask, which is like, book a call, book a demo, buy our stuff. Pretty much. That's what people are saying, right? And nobody wants to do that when they have no idea who you are. So What I recommend and what works really well is having some sort of funnel, which is there's no click-aways. It is literally just a page explaining why you should get this white paper, get this free report, get this whatever. And in order to get it, you got to give name, number, email. So it's gated content, right? Why does it work? Because there's no click-aways. They can't go to your LinkedIn. They can't go to YouTube. They're just one thing, right? And what works really well is making the CTAs on the main website to that funnel. So it's a separate landing page, separate sequence. And what we love to do is send those people to what's called a VSL page. Look, what's most meaningful is not that you have this, but how it's made. I have another video somewhere on my channel about how to make a lead magnet, how to make a VSL, how to make this funnel, etc. But this is just simply, if you don't have it, you need one. Having one is better than not having one, but how to make this actually effective is like, what is the headline? What is the free report? Or what is the free thing? Does it actually work? Are you adding friction to this? Are you qualifying on this form, etc., right? So there's more videos on that. I want to go over it in this video. But the beautiful thing is when they opt in, name, number, email, and they qualify themselves, now you have MQLs that are enriched that you can call. This is going to be a terrible... That's a terrible phone call. Just imagine that's a phone. Okay, you can text them, and then you can also email them as well. So you have 4 ways of selling in a vacuum there, which typically you want to get if they just hopped onto your website. Maybe you can retarget them if they hop on your website, but like nobody's just booking a demo out the gate. Just not how it works, right? Number 3, most folks don't have data. So let's go into data. Now, only 4 things need to exist for calls to end up on your calendar. Number 1, they have to click. Number 2, they have to opt in. Number 3, they have to be qualified. Number 4, they have to book. So people think, I just need to book people. No, you're skipping some steps. You're trying to marry somebody before you take them out for coffee. Even if you're doing cold outreach, this is still the same thing. They have to click on your thing. They have to inquire about the conversation. They have to be qualified, and then they have to want to book. Now, let me just take it into an advertising perspective or a content perspective, okay? Clicks, obviously, this could be whatever traffic. It could be from cold outreach. It can be from ads. It can be from content. But if it's ads, you want a cost per click of like sub $5. Now, it may vary dependent on industry, and it may vary dependent on what you're selling or what you're doing. Now, I have some cost per clicks that are higher than $5 that work. That is what it is. Now, 10% for the opt-in rate, which is I have 1,000 unique visitors. I get 10% of those people to become a lead. Now, the beautiful thing, we just talked about websites, right? Here's the thing. A website, industry average, 2%. So why am I saying average it should be 10% for a funnel? Because a funnel, there's nothing else to do other than opt in. And if they're clicking on get me the free thing, there's intent. So 10% is a really good barometer. Have I seen 30%? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. Does it mean that you should spend all your time making new headlines for the page if you're at a 17? No. So 10% is a pretty good barometer. And then quality, you should have at least 60% of the people that opt in, 60 to 80% of the people that opt in to be qualified. Now, why do I say 80 and not 100? Because if it's like 90, 95, 100, you're not qualifying enough. To opt in, they need to give you some sort of quality. The form to opt in may look like this. It may be like, full name, it may be email, maybe phone number. I suggest all 3, and then a qualifying question. What's your revenue? What's your amount of employees? What tools do you use? What have you? And above 80%, you're basically just going to ask, are you a human? Not adding enough friction. And then below 60%, your traffic is wrong. You're not adding enough friction on the page, what have you. Okay, so you need to be saying who is it not for more than you need to be saying who it is for. I've never seen, and we see it all the time with clients, they're not adding enough friction in their messaging. If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. That goes back to number 1. So you need to be extremely specific. If you look at any of our ads, especially with the Andromeda update as well, and then booking, 10 to 15% of your marketing qualified leads should be booking. So that's a good barometer. And then this equals money. Now, if you're not making money on this, you need to have a better product, better service, charge more, lower churn, etc. This is a good barometer for success. Okay. And look, for clicks, make better content, write better stuff, make better ads, have a better idea of who your ICP is. Opt-in rate, have a better headline, have a more clean funnel, have a faster load speed, etc. Qualification, add more friction. If it's too low, you're not adding enough friction. If it's too high, etc. And then booking, you need to follow up. You need to call your leads, AI, SMS, email, retargeting ads, whatever you need to do to bombard the people who download your free stuff. So no value first. I see all these people trying to date somebody. This kind of goes into what we just spoke about, but people are trying to date somebody before they're even given the chance to understand if you can provide the value, right? So this is a key point. If all of your messaging, it just says book a call, book a call, book a call, book a call, there's your problem. Well, let's walk through an exercise together. If you were going to hire a vendor or hire somebody for something, and company A gave you something already, gave you some sort of tangible value already first, and company B didn't, and they both pretty much just said, hey, we can help you, who would you believe more, right? Who would you be more willing to give time to? Probably A. So be company A. Now, if you want some examples on how to do that, like I said, there's tons of video on my page. You can look at our website. That free thing has to qualify the person as well. So if you work with this type of company or this type of company, you make the thing for that company. And if it's above a certain revenue amount or above a certain employee count, make it relevant only to them. Because it's like, I'm raising my hand. I'm saying I need help. I want this thing to solve my problem. I am that person. So it already kind of qualifies for you. And then the last thing here is no engagement, no follow-up. So we had a business that came in the other day, $750 million. They get 351 new leads that hit the website a week. Not a single follow-up, not a single email, not a single drip sequence, not a single text, not a single retargeting ad. Can you believe it? Of those people, let's say 60% of them were qualified, okay? So half of them would be, let's say it's 350, half of them would be 125. Cool. Okay, so let's say 125 is qualified. 10% of those people book a call. That's 12. Let's say it's 15. It's about 15 people, give or take. And so that would be 25 million added on a quarterly basis for them. So by just following up, doing it is much more meaningful than what you say. Let me be very clear. Just letting them know that you exist still. But what is the most meaningful with follow-up is speed. If you can immediately email them automated, if you can immediately call them within 5 minutes, if you can immediately text them automated, and you can immediately have retargeting ads rolling to them, you just increase your aperture for success, and then therefore you can make millions of dollars. That's essentially it. Those are my rules of thumb. How you do it is not as important as if you do it, so just do the damn thing and you'll be better off. But like I said, my name is Jake, I'm the CEO of Adstra. If you want to book a call with us to see if we can possibly help you get more qualified calls, you're a SaaS company, consulting company, service company, etc., and you sell something pretty expensive online, we can possibly help you. You're going to be doing over $500K a year, or you have funding to be able to invest in your growth. You can book a call below, download a free report, and then book a call. If you're below that, no issues. Get the DIY system that's also in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.